On November 26, 1930, the front page of the Morning Daily Journal newspaper in Canada carried a headline titled, "Village of the Dead." This story sent shockwaves across Canada, as an entire tribe in northern Canada had mysteriously disappeared overnight without leaving a single trace. In the remote northern region of Canada lies Lake Anjikuni, near which lived a small tribe known as the Eskimos. Around 100 to 150 people lived there, surviving mainly by fishing from the lake. This region is so harsh and cold that only a few thousand people inhabit vast stretches of land covering millions of square kilometers. Besides fishing, hunting was also common in the surrounding areas, attracting hunters from different places. One freezing day in November 1930, a hunter named Joe Labelle came to this area in search of game. He became so engrossed in hunting that he didn't realize when night had fallen. Remembering that he had previously spent nights with a friendly Eskimo tribe by the lake, Joe decided to head there again. The tribe was known for welcoming travelers warmly. So, he packed his belongings and began walking toward the village. It was a moonlit night, but an eerie silence surrounded the area. No voices, no people, just the sound of his own footsteps echoing in the still air. Though he had walked this path before, something felt different this time. Normally, by now he would have heard dogs barking from the village, but tonight, complete silence. As he approached, he could see smoke rising from some huts, as if someone were inside. But when he arrived, there wasn't a single person, no humans, no animals. Curious, he entered one of the huts but found it empty. The same scene repeated everywhere. The entire village was deserted. Even stranger, there were pots of burnt food still sitting on the stoves. Someone had started cooking dinner but never returned to eat. Half-sewn clothes lay on the floor, and needles were still threaded, as if the women had left their work midst it. It seemed the villagers had suddenly abandoned everything. Joe continued searching and found that the tribe's dogs were dead, still tied up with ropes around their necks. They had starved to death, even though food was nearby. He also discovered a freshly dug grave, indicating that it hadn't been long since it was made. Terrified by what he had seen, Joe rushed to the nearest telegraph office and reported everything to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police (RCMP). When the police arrived, they confirmed that everything Joe described was true. At first, they suspected a possible attack or massacre, but there were no signs of blood or struggle. They launched a massive search operation. Yet the most baffling discovery was this. The entire village was covered in snow, but there were no footprints. Only Joe Labelle's own footprints were visible. If no one had come and no one had left, then where did the villagers go? The lake was frozen solid, and their boats were still pulled up on shore. If they had fled across the lake or been dumped into it, the ice would have shown cracks, but it was perfectly intact. Investigators later concluded that the villagers had disappeared several days before Joe's arrival, as the dogs couldn't have died from just a day or two of hunger. The rising smoke suggested they hadn't been gone long, but long enough for fires to burn out. After months of searching, the police finally closed the case, labeling it unsolved. Over time, people gradually forgot about it. 50 years later, in 1984, two writers, Roger Bohr and Nigel Blundell, revisited the story. They wrote an article linking the disappearance to aliens, UFOs. According to their account, local hunters had often seen strange flying objects over the lake, moving toward the same area where the Eskimo tribe had lived. They suggested that perhaps one night, aliens descended and took the entire tribe with them. However, there was no solid evidence, so most people dismissed the theory as fiction. Over the years, many other stories and explanations emerged, but the truth remains unknown. Nearly 100 years later, one question still haunts history. Where did the people of Anjikuni Lake, Eskimo village go, and how did they vanish without a trace? The mystery of the missing tribe remains unsolved to this day.